So the farmers in the 1980s took the United States Incorporated and the Federal Reserve Central Banking System, their banking system, to court, to the world courts. And the farmers said they're forcing us farmers to take out loans. And if we don't abide by the rules of their loans, if we don't sow Monsanto seeds that will poison the people, if we don't feed the cattle poisonous foods, if we don't do whatever they say, if we don't want to pay the high interest rates, they will just confiscate our land. And some of the farmers were unalived because that's how serious the central banking system was. You don't do what we say. You don't keep poison the people. You don't sow sick seeds. You don't poison the cows. We'll just take your land. So when the farmers took the central banks to court and the United States Incorporated to the world courts, it was determined that, in fact, the United States Incorporated had enslaved the farmers. They had mistreated them. They had implemented nefarious, unlawful banking practices. And so the farmers were told, we're going to take down the United States Incorporated. We're going to dismantle the Federal Reserve Central Banking System. And when that's done, we're going to pay you all in gold. If there is a currency by that time, you're going to be paid in a currency that's backed by gold. So the World Court said not only had the farmers been mistreated, but the American people had been treated unfairly by the central banks, and the whole world had been enslaved by the central banking system. So they said, when all of this is done, the republic, the lawful government is restored because we're going to dismantle the United States Incorporated. Everybody all across the globe will have a debt jubilee where all debts will be wiped away and everybody will be compensated. That's the repair or reparations, that everybody's going to be compensated for what the United States Incorporated did to us. And for those of you who are new that don't know, the government is not lawful that's operating. The United States government is a group of bloodline families that usurped authority or took authority from our lawful government, the republic here on the land. And they took authority from governments all over the world, but they started here first in America. A group of bloodline families that usurped authority from our republic and incorporated themselves in 1871 as a religious nonprofit organization. They incorporated themselves in Delaware in 1871 with the Pope as their leader. That's why they're considered religious nonprofit organization. And they then created their own constitution called the Constitution of the United States Incorporated. But we have our own lawful constitution called the Constitution for our republic. So we have the fake folk government, the United States Incorporated, and we have the republic, our lawful government. The fake folk government has 442 government agencies like the CIA, FBI, etc. And I have a list of all 442 agencies on the community section of my Dr. Kia Pruitt official YouTube channel. So they have 442 CIA, FBI, CPS, DMV, so many of them that you can't keep up. And then you have the lawful government, the republic, that has a constitution for the United States, benevolent, lawful. Constitution of the United States Incorporated, nefarious, bad. It has to go away, it has to be dismantled. So when the farmers took the United States Incorporated to court, to the world courts, remember, the courts determined that, in fact, the corporation had to be dismantled because they were unlawful. That was in the 80s. Some people say that it actually started, the farmers started this process in the 70s and in the 80s. At the same time, you had the Washita Empress Verdiacee, or some people call her Verdiacee, Gosten L. Turner Bay, who was the Empress of the Washita or Ashita people, the Ashita Moors or Moors here on the land. The indigenous people erroneously classified as Black, erroneously classified as African American or Negroid. These are the autochthonous, indigenous, real Indians. The real Moors or Moors here had a dynasty before the United States Incorporated usurped our republic and incorporated themselves in 1871. Well, Empress Verdiacee Gosten L. Turner Bay also took the United States Incorporated to court. She also took the United States Incorporated central banking system to court around the same time as the farmers. And not only did she take them to court for stealing the land here, she said the United States Incorporated group of bloodline families stole the land here. She said that the Louisiana Purchase, which was a purchase of not only Louisiana, but many states, was not a purchase, but a theft. She said, I have the allodial title, and she did. She took it to court, and she said, I'm here on behalf of Black folks and all the people that have agreements with the so-called Black folks or Negroids or African American colored people here. They're not called Black. They're not African Americans. The United States Incorporated erroneously and falsified their designation. These are the indigenous people here. And she said they not only stole the land here, and I have the allodial title, but they changed their categorization, what they call it, categorization or identification. They changed their identification, and they allowed people to come here like the Chinese and Mongoloid people that crossed the Bering Strait. They allowed them to come here and settle here and steal their identity. And she said, like, we know that people are here from different countries, and, you know, that's neither here nor there, that, you know, we have agreements with them. But what is not cool is that you allow these people to call themselves indigenous when they're not. The Mongoloid Asian people that are here living in teepees, the squatters on the land that were escaping whatever was going on in the Mongoloid Asian region, they're not the autogenous indigenous people here in the Americas. So Empress, you can look her up. Empress Verdiacee, Gosten, L. Turner Bay, sued the United States Incorporated with the allodial title and said, you stole the land here, you stole the classification, identification of the indigenous autogenous people that y'all call Negro and Black, and so I'm suing you. And she won her claim in the amount of $85 quadrillion. That's documented. It was determined by the world courts that the Black people here, or African American people here, most of them did not come from slave ships. They are not from Africa. They originated from here, which is Turtle Island, or the land of the Moors, Mours, also known as Amorica or America, and that they had to have their land restored, their identification restored, and their wealth restored. And not only the copper-colored races here, look up the Webster's definition for American. 1828, Webster's definition for American is the copper-colored races found here by Christopher Columbus, but now applied to Europeans. So it was determined by the world courts that Verdiacee and L. Turner Bay won her claim in the amount of $85 quadrillion, and that when the United States Incorporated is dismantled, all of the Moors, the so-called Black races, copper-colored races, African-American, Negroid people here will be paid out. And not only those people, but all the people with whom they have agreements here that are on the land. So she won her claim at the same time that the farmers won their claim between the 80s and the 90s. So you had other people taking United States Incorporated to task by taking them to court, to the world courts. If you want to learn more about Empress Verdiacee L. Turner Bay, I can do some more lives on that. I'm not here really to talk about her, but it was determined at that time that the Black folks here, the Negroids here, are the oldest indigenous people on the planet. That was documented by, what do you call it? United Nations. It was documented by United Nations in 1985. The copper-colored races here, the Black folk, Negroid folk, colored folk, African-American folks, are the oldest indigenous people on the planet. The United Nations had to recognize it because Empress Verdiacee L. Turner Bay, who took the United States Incorporated to court, called them to task, brought all the documents, showing and proving that they stole the land, showing and proving that she had the allodial titles, original titles. And, you know, we know nobody owns the land owns us. That's one of our ancient sayings. But there were people here, and the United States Incorporated not only stole the land from the people here, but they misclassified the copper-colored races here. They called us Indian. All our great-grandparents still have Indian, especially great-great, still have Indian on their birth certificate. They were Indian, they were indigenous, but they, over time, you look up Walter Plecker, Plecker, and the Census Bureau, over time, they changed our classification from indigenous or autogenous or aborigine. They changed it from being aborigine, Autogenous means we sprung from the soil. Indigenous, to Negro, colored, first colored, then Negro, then Black, then African American. So it used to be derogatory to call us Black until, of course, they tasked James Brown with singing a song, "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud." But, you know, all those people in the entertainment industry, they're paid by the deep state, by the fake faux government. So I still remember a time when you better not call my aunts and uncles or my daddy Black. That was a derogatory term that meant that you had no standing in law, you had no status. That was the legal status of a slave. Black was the status of the Europeans that came here. White was the status of the autogenous people that are here on the land, the Aboriginal, indigenous people erroneously classified as Black. We were classified as white. We were the white free persons. White meaning, you know, you owned the land or you had property.